Very good, thank you. Lisa, how are you?
I'm doing a bit better now. As you know, we've both been a bit unwell, but it's good to be back and talking to you and doing our podcast.
Yes, it's nice to get back to doing normal things, isn't it?
Exactly. It's just the season, I think. So today we've decided to talk about the Mediator's Summary after the parties have spoken, and sort of moving into the mediator setting an agenda. And as part of that, we have worked up a little scenario. And I'll just read out the scenario, Judy, with the aim of you then talking us through the summary that you might be inclined to provide and the reasons why, if that's okay.
Sure. Yeah, sure.
Thank you. So this scenario involves Joe, and Joe has worked for Bell Contact Services Limited for approximately 8 years as a customer advisor in the company's call centre and advisory team. And his role involves handling customer inquiries by phone and meeting various performance measures, including call volume and call quality standards. Julie has been Joe's manager for the past 12 months, and before Julie was appointed, the team was managed by Kim, who had known Joe since they attended intermediate school together, and Joe and Kim remained close friends throughout that working relationship. Shortly after Julie starting the role, she reviewed the performance of the team and became concerned about Joe's performance. She noted that Joe was not meeting key performance indicators relating to both the number of calls and the quality of customer interactions. She also became aware of several instances where Joe had hung up unexpectedly or abruptly on calls and occasionally demonstrated poor attitude towards customers. So Julie formed the view that Joe's performance had not been managed effectively, and maybe that was due to his friendship with Kim and that he had been possibly treated a bit more leniently. So as a result of her concerns, Julie commenced a formal performance improvement plan with Joe, and it set out as accepted specific performance targets and review dates. And Joe and Julie had regular meetings to discuss his progress. And Julie believed that the process was being managed appropriately. Joe, however, felt that he was being unfairly singled out and bullied and put under unfair scrutiny. Nevertheless, at that stage, he did decide to engage in the PIP because he frankly needed the job. And one of the major events leading to this mediation occurred during the PIP process, Judy. Judy had prepared an email update for her manager, Max, about Joe's progress under the PIP, and this email was intended for Max only. So in the email, Julie advised Max that she didn't think that Joe was going to achieve the required performance improvements, and she'd probably give Joe a final warning because she believed, in inverted commas, his heart wasn't in the job. And she also included a comment that he behaved like an idiot most of the time, lol. When Joe got that email by mistake, he was upset and angered, and did raise a personal grievance. Now, there was another incident that will also probably be for discussion at mediation. A further issue arose. Joe asked Julie for a day of annual leave so that he could attend the fictional savings bank tennis open. Julie declined the request, and her reasons were that Joe didn't have any annual leave available on his annual balance, and the call centre was implementing a project, and they were very busy with this particular project. On the day for which leave had been requested and declined, Joe called in sick and advised that he was unable to attend work. Later in the day, on the TV1 news of the tennis tournament, Julie saw Joe sitting in the front row of the grand final, eating strawberries and drinking champagne and looking quite well. So those were some of the issues that will come up at the mediation, and will be fertile ground, I guess, for the mediator's summary.
Sure. And the way that I might approach that is perhaps by saying something along the lines like, so here we have a situation where a performance plan is in place. From Joe's perspective, he doesn't feel that it's fair and that he's been singled out, but he has participated in it. And from Julie, the manager's perspective, she feels justified in putting a plan in place because she does want Joe to achieve better outcomes. During the process, there's been some communications that have gone awry, shall we say, that have made both parties feel, I guess, feel that they could have done things better. And also during the process, we have a situation where Joe wanted to take leave to attend a sports event. That leave was declined, but he chose to go anyway. And as usual, we've got two different perspectives on this issue.
I noticed that your summary is quite brief. Is there a reason that you haven't repeated, more of the content of what the parties have said?
Yes, there is, because, well, first of all, an important aspect of the summary is to wait until you've heard from both parties. So you're not summarising what one party said before you've heard from the other parties and got their perspective on things. We'll talk more about that maybe a bit later, but wait for both parties to have said, actually, what was your question again, Lisa? Just
Oh,
put me
so
back on track.
you've answered that question. I was just inquiring about the mediator's summary being quite brief and not sort of going into a whole lot of detail about what the parties have said to each other in their opening statement and response.
That's right. And I think if the mediator just repeats back what they've heard, it's not actually adding any value. I believe one of the important things about the mediator summary is that it helps parties move on. They feel that they've been heard, and it helps them move to the next phase. If the mediator repeats back everything that's being said, it adds quite a lot of past history, if you like, and parties are listening to it all over again. Sometimes that can be a little bit feel a little bit tedious to them. Well, that's some feedback I get from parties if that happens. So keep it sort of brief and with the aim of moving parties to the next phase of being able to look at the issues as a joint problem.
Yeah, I see that would be very effective. And also, I guess if you're taking copious notes of everything that the parties are saying during their opening and response, then you might not be seeing or attending to body language and seeing how they're doing with the process, and perhaps miss out on things that are not being said.
That's right. And you're missing
out attending to your notes. Yeah,
that's right. And you're missing out on that really important engagement that you establish with the parties.
Another thing I noticed with your summary was it's possible in this particular scenario that, for example, Joe might have called Julie a bully. And it's possible in this scenario that Julie might have called Joe a liar. So do you have any examples for us about how you would do that detoxification process? So the parties would feel heard, but they're not going to think, oh, the mediator thinks I'm a liar or a bully.
I think it is important not to sanitize the issues too much, but and to, as you've said, show the party that you've heard and understand the impact on them. But for example, if Joe is called what Julie's doing being a bully, the mediator might say something. So Joe is concerned about the way that Joe behaves towards him. And from Joe's perspective, from Julie's perspective, calling Joe a liar, you might say that Julie believes that Joe wasn't really telling the full story when he applied for leave.
So in that way, both parties feel heard, and the hard part for both parties has been captured, but in a different way that doesn't kind of mire them in the past or give them the impression that the mediator thinks that they're a bully or a liar.
That's right.
And
isn't a
judging
judgmental. Yeah, that's right. So taking away the judgment, I guess, in describing the behaviour, I find to be very effective.
Yeah, fantastic. Coming to the end of your summary, and how do you generally end that piece off? Do you ever invite the parties to add to it, or how do you transition the parties to the next stage, which will be the setting of the agenda?
Yes, this is a delicate little manoeuvre, I believe, in the mediator's role.
Yeah.
It's important that the parties feel they've been heard, and I think it's important for the mediator to check it and say, have I captured that right for you? Is that what you were meaning? I think there's a fine line between not inviting them to add anything extra. So I try not to say, is there anything you'd like to add? Because you don't want to open up whole new issues or give them the opportunity to relitigate matters or to stress points. So I find that that's a little bit distracting. And if that is about to happen, I try and encourage them to hold on to that thought and be able so that they can talk more openly about it in the joint session, which is coming up. But rather than sort of get into a distraction and yeah, I guess goes against the momentum that the mediator's trying to make in terms of moving parties through the process.
Yeah, and also assisting them or supporting them to hopefully ultimately get to an outcome. They're starting to say, yes, have I got that right? Have I heard you correctly? Parties are starting to say yes, maybe not to each other yet, but maybe to you.
Yes, that's true. That is true.
All right. Is there anything else that you want to say about summaries, Judy?
No, I think we've covered the main points, and I think that the add value, I guess, is that it moves the mediator. It's a nice segue, I guess, into the mediator then looking at what the agenda items might be.
And you and I
was thinking, Lisa,
sorry.
I was thinking, Lisa, what you might think about the agenda items at this point.
Well, it is a nice segue because the agenda setting naturally falls out of your summary. And I think we're both of the view that the mediator should add some more value here and direct this process by having had their thinking hat on during when the parties are doing their opening and response, but identifying some of those key issues. And a really important part of an agenda is that those key issues which you identify for the parties are mutual and neutral, so they are felt by both parties, but they are expressed in neutral terms. So again, not pejorative. A really important part of your agenda is that they don't preempt an outcome, so that they're not options. So they're not things like compensation or apology. So with our scenario, I kind of was thinking about, you don't need that many items on your agenda. I think it's good just to keep it simple because the parties are going to get into a fulsome discussion of the few items, and really important not to number them either in any order of particular priority. Suitable agenda items for this scenario could be communication. So it's clear that communication between Julie and Joe is not where it needs to be. and that there has been this rogue email that has gone astray that hasn't really communicated how Julie really feels about the performance improvement plan, and has given Jo an incorrect, view of how things were going, and how she sees him. And the same also with Jo, and not communicating with Julie particularly well or at all about the sick leave day has put Julie in a state of a lack of information. So communication will be something that the parties will both want to talk about and needs to be talked about. Another agenda item could be their working relationship. It seems that it has taken a few hits. They're both feeling not very well inclined towards each other, feeling that Jo's feeling that he's being put under scrutiny and unfairly treated, and Julie is feeling probably pretty embarrassed, maybe with senior leadership that she sent this email, but she's also feeling probably disappointed, that she has seen Jo at the tennis drinking champagne and eating strawberries when she thought that he was on sick leave. So working relationship is a fertile topic to talk about. The next one that they could talk about could be reputation. I think their reputations have both undergone some damage in various ways. Jo's probably feeling, after working there for 8 years, he's probably feeling, oh my gosh, now I've been put on a pip and this is a bit demeaning, and maybe I'm going to lose my job. And similarly, Julie is probably feeling embarrassed in terms of her reputation in terms of managing Jo. She's sent this rogue email and then he's pitched up watching the tennis when he's supposed to be on sick leave. So, and finally, the last issue is, this is a tricky one, the vexed issue of performance. If this is an agenda item, then that will allow the parties to get into talking about their different views of the performance improvement process, whereas Jo thinks, I'm doing fine, what's this all about? Julie will be able to say, well, here is how I really feel, and actually you were doing quite well, and I think we were getting there, but your KPIs weren't where they needed to be. So that would potentially open up that communication. As I said before, I think mediators should take the lead in setting the agenda items, and similarly with the summary, check in with the parties to say, do these agenda items cover it? And there might be something that needs to go up there as well, but just maintain that neutral status, that mutual, that both parties agree that that's something that should be discussed.
Yeah, and there's nothing to stop another, if during the joint discussions another topic pops up that seems to be really important, there's nothing to stop that being added to the agenda and discussed as appropriate.
Exactly.
So it's not set in concrete.
It's not set in concrete, and we generally ask the parties where they'd like to start, because as mediators, we're not ascribing any kind of priority to any of these agenda items. So I think it's appropriate to say, where would you like to start? And generally one party will jump in there and say, well, I want to talk about reputation, or, and then away you go. So, that can be a good way to start. I think just overall the agenda being neutral and mutual, because this is quite a complex issue. There's been a lot that has gone on with the ongoing employment relationship. So the summary and the agenda work to kind of break the dispute into manageable chunks, where they're not pejorative or judgmental or loaded, but the parties can use those agenda items as a platform to inform their discussion.
That's right. And I think another thing that's always helped me when thinking about agenda topics is this something that each party has an interest in discussing? And that's quite a good way of looking at it as well.
Exactly. So converting those positions, I want this, no, you can't have this, you should do that. No, I'm not going to do that, into things that both parties have an interest in, like communication or
yes,
reputation.
exactly.
Yeah.
Or process,
Or
performance.
process.
Yes.
Working relationship.
That's
Oh,
right.
oh.
So now I'm looking forward to our next issue, our next episode, which is going to
Yes.
be looking at the discussion itself and using these agenda items, I guess, to provide the framework for that discussion.
That will be good, yeah. And I know some mediators, including me, find the joint discussion, quite challenging. So looking forward
Yes,
to working on that with you next time, Judy.
it will be fun.
It
Thanks,
will be
Lisa.
fun as usual. Take care. Ka kite.
Take care. Ka kite.
Bye.